Have you ever met the connector? Well, he ponders, he helps, he creates, he writes, he speaks. He basically connects people and brings them together. I speak about Paul Solano of PS and All Marketing Group. At psandallmarketinggroup.com, you will receive an assembled group of Paul's contacts and connections that cross into many sectors of life. Please contact Paul Solano at 617-240-4130 or psandallmarketinggroup@gmail.com if you are in the market for a wide array of services. Again, please contact The Connector, Paul Solano at 617-240-4130 or psandallmarketinggroup@gmail.com with any questions. And now, here's Paul Solano, the host of Paul Ponders.
Welcome to #Paul Ponders. I've really enjoyed bringing you fun, informative, intriguing, and pondering podcasts. Many thanks to #PodPro Entertainment. Today's collaborating sponsor, Scott Albertson of #Project142.org, Riverworks Credit Union, NMLS number 410564, and Remax Renaissance Realty of Reading. Thanks for listening, rating, reviewing, and subscribing. Let #Paul Ponders begin. Greetings, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well today. Very pleased to introduce our guest for this episode, and her name is Cassidy Amber Chapman, and I had the pleasure of meeting Cassidy at a jazz brunch at Pearl Street Station Restaurant in Malden, and I was totally taken aback by what a wonderful, wonderful person she is and how enthusiastic she is. So I want to welcome you, Cassidy Amber Chapman. Welcome.
Well, my favorite part of that introduction is that you said we met at a jazz brunch, and I know that I've really succeeded in my life when I get to say, yes, we met at a jazz brunch, and now we get to do a podcast. Like, that is the pinnacle of success for me, and so I was just super happy to hear that.
Well, as I often say, #indeed, and it's something that, it was a great jazz brunch. We were sitting around two wonderful musicians, and I was introduced by our mutual friend, Bob Hilberg, and it's something that I was just blown away with your spirit, your enthusiasm, and your story. You have a great story to tell, so if you want to let our listeners know all about your book, which we'll get into, but just tell us, who is Cassidy Amber Chapman?
Yeah, so my journey into all the work that I do now, which I'll get into after the story, it started around 12 years ago. And around 12 years ago, God, that's so long ago now. It goes by so fast. I started having mystery medical symptoms. I had gained over 50 pounds in under 3 months, eating less than 500 calories per day. I started having purple tones all over my body. I was turning purple. I started dry heaving every day. And if you don't know what dry heaving is, it's you try to throw up, but you can't. And I was nauseous and dizzy almost every day. And I went to every doctor you could think of. I went to doctor after doctor and test after test. And they kept telling me that I was fine, that I was all right, or that it was all in my head. Or they were blaming it on the weight that I was gaining. And I was telling them, it's impossible. It should be impossible for me to be gaining this weight. And they said, oh, well, you must be lying about how much you're eating. And so I felt so defeated at this point in my life. And I felt absolutely defeated. And after 2 years, going to every doctor you could think of, doing every test you could think of, I finally found a doctor who would prescribe me medication that drastically helped with the symptoms. And I'm very grateful for this doctor. I'm very grateful for this medication. However, it was suppressing the symptoms. And I gratefully suppressed those symptoms for 5 years. And after those 5 years, I went through a major health crisis because I was suppressing the symptoms. I wasn't really getting to the root problem at all. And in that health crisis, I had physical pain so painful it felt like knives were ripping me open from the inside out. And that physical pain got so bad that I started having panic attacks every single day because of the pain that I was in. And those panic attacks got so bad, they would wake me up in the middle of my sleep to have a panic attack. At this point, I felt like life was not worth living. I mean, I was in unbearable, never-ending pain. It just broke my entire body, mind, and spirit. And not only was I going through a health crisis at the time, I was going through a life crisis. And in this life crisis, I had ended a 15-year friendship that had felt like a divorce. I mean, families fighting, taking things back. We were so codependent and became very toxic. And so I decided to end that friendship, but it was really, really hard. And at the same time, I was broken up by who I thought was the love of my life at the time. You know, your first love you think is the love of your life. I think we've all been there. And during that 1-year period, I also had 4 family members die. It was a very dark period of my life. And even just thinking back on it, I can just connect with that version of me that was just in unbearable pain. Gratefully, a couple things woke me up. One of them being one of my family members who died. He was 32 years old. And a couple days before he died, he had texted me, "Cassidy, I don't want to die. I have so much left to live. I have so much left to experience. Please don't. I can't die." And a couple days later, he died. I get emotional thinking about it because it was so significant for me. But I felt this duty not only to live for myself, but for him and for everybody else that doesn't have a chance to live. And so I took a black notebook, brand new black notebook, and I wrote down Cassidy's health plan or Cassidy's healing plan. I can't remember which one. But I remember in that moment that I decided I was going to get healthy and absolutely nothing was going to stop me. And it brought me down the most incredible journey of healing physically, of healing emotionally, of healing spiritually, of healing mentally, all of it. It was this awakening. It was a journey of finding love for myself like I never knew was possible. It was a journey of finding quality of life that I did not know was possible. When we think about health, we even think about our life, we think about mental health or our physical health. We think about not being sick. We think about avoiding pain and illness. We think about avoiding sadness. We think about avoiding the heartbreak. But in reality, there is a health that we can feel in our souls, which is in every single cell. It's an aliveness. And that is where I began to touch, is an aliveness I didn't know was possible before. And it was as if I had changed overnight, but of course it wasn't overnight. It was over probably 6 months, but it felt overnight. And people were like, whoa, 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 what's going on here? What are you doing? Like, you were one person one day and completely another the next. What is going on here? And, they kept asking, what's that one tool? What's one healing modality? What's that one thing that you did? What's that quick fix? Everyone's looking for a quick fix. And I told them it was not one thing. It was absolutely every decision I made towards my health, towards creating a better life for myself. And it created most magic and miracles in my life that I could possibly have ever imagined, a quality of life that I want to share with everybody. And I said, I can't tell you one thing. If I was to tell you what I did, I would have to write an entire book about it. And so I did. I wrote the book, The Vibrancy Codes, A Guide to Vibrant Health and Vitality, which ended up becoming #1 new release in holistic medicine and energy healing on Amazon. And it was not because I had a big audience. It was because people were sharing the book because it was so helpful to them. And my business had started because people started coming up to me, asking me, how to help them really love their lives and build lives they love. And I just kind of fell into it. I started doing sessions. I started giving people the tools and the sessions that I was receiving, and referrals exploded. And so I help people love their lives and build lives they love through holistic well-being, somatics, and neurological rewiring. And we do it in such a fun, immersive experience way. And I really am so deeply grateful for all the pain that I went through, because it created beautiful life that I'm just so deeply grateful for. And I'm so passionate about the things that I do because I know that when we all really create a healthy connection to our body, when we become alive again, when we live as our most brave, as our most bold, as our most courageous self, then there's something significant that happens in our lives.
That is absolutely, absolutely tremendous. And that's what you're all about. Now, we're at the 8-9 minute mark of this episode. So I hope our listeners have, in fact, really found that spirit within themselves to really be brave, be bold, and be who you are meant to be. And that is what you've been touting on your website.
Mm-hmm.
And what you tout when you are out there traveling the United States, around the world, being a sought after guest speaker, motivational speaker. So if you want to tell us about some of your travels, about traveling around the world.
Yeah, it's been absolutely something if you told me a couple of years ago that I would have written a book, that I would be having a business for almost 3.5 years now, if you told me that I would be living in 6 countries in a year, I would have told you you're crazy. And one more for you is I actually released a song on Monday. And so, yes,
Wow.
that's something to check out too. And the message of the song is to be brave, to be bold, and to be who you're meant to be. And for me, everyone learns differently. Some people learn through a workshop. Some people learn through one-on-ones. Some people learn through music. Some people learn through a social media post, right? I'm here to share this message in every way and in every possible form I can, and by living it. And for me, living it was really doing every dream, manifesting every dream, achieving every dream that I ever could have had, not because it's for the accolades, not because it's for what other people see, but it's for the inner child in me, the one that wants to play, the one that wants to do all the things, right? The one that wants to write the book, the one that wants to travel the world. I mean, traveling the world as a female solo traveler, and I had sold most of my things except for what could fit in my 2-door car. It's a very small car. It took so much courage. And by living this, I've learned that when you are your most brave, when you're all your most bold, who you're meant to be, it's your quality of life is so drastically different. And I'm not saying everyone needs to take risks, but sometimes the riskiest thing that you can do is love a little bit more, like open up your heart a little bit more. Maybe the most riskiest and bold, brave thing that you can do is have the child that you want to have. Maybe the most brave, bold thing that is in your heart that you know you're meant for is going on a dating app because you've been terrified to put yourself out there. I mean, the things don't need to be great, but it is the most brave, bold version of you that will create a life that is beyond your wildest imagination. And it all starts at this vibrancy, at this health, at this energy, as connection to your body, connection to yourself. And as I've been living this work and traveling the world is one of those things I just felt I felt a calling. Your heart calls you to things that you're meant to experience in this life. And so I felt called to go to Colombia and then Nigeria. And what was really cool was, I mean, actually, I wasn't really called to Nigeria, but I did have a speaking engagement there. And I was able to go there to be able to speak on taking these brave, bold steps, on listening to your heart's calling, to your inner intuition, to being able to be this vibrant, bold self. It is not about exactly the accolades that happen, but it's who you become in each of the steps that you take. And that's you're just going to be so in awe of your life and the person that you become when you allow yourself to walk in courage. And courage does not mean that you are fearless. It means that you have fear, but you do it anyways. One of the most courageous things that I ever did was saying that I was going to get healthy, and I was determined that I was going to get healthy after 10 years of chronic illness. That was probably one of the most courageous, bold statements I could have ever made. And now I'm physically at the healthiest place I've ever been. So it is this message of being brave, this message of being bold, this message of being who you're meant to be. is we're not meant to just live life and meh, like it's okay, like I'm all right, you know how it is, you know how it is. But actually embracing all of life. And that doesn't mean that pain won't hurt you, pain won't touch you, because it will. It touches you anyways. So why not live fully in all of it if pain is going to touch you anyways? If you're going to fail on your face in some fashion, some way, the life is going to slap you in the face. That's just going to happen. And you know what? When you embrace it, when you say, okay, slap me in the face. Oh, you were actually trying to make me look in this direction. Instead, let me start walking towards there instead of, oh my God, why did life slap me in the face? No, I don't know.
Right.
That's how it will happen.
Well, I remember us chatting about what I was equating to the journey between the womb and the tomb, and something in between called time, TIME, things I must experience. And we talked about that, and you had referred to your wild ride. So tell us about that. I know that's covered in the book, Vibrancy Code, about the wild ride.
Yeah. Well, my journey of just becoming healthy and now traveling around the world, I can't even, it's almost hard to explain the magic that became my life. It was almost as if life began to give me gifts of being courageous, living in all these different countries. And it was as if I would meet the exact right person at the exact right time. And I would say, I want to meet someone like this. As, for example, my song, that was a weird thing that just began. I wrote my song. I felt an intuitive pull to perform at an open mic, just singing a cappella because I don't know how to play an instrument yet or compose. And I sang it a cappella. And before I could even get off stage, someone had yelled out, "I want to help you compose the music."
Wow.
It's these magical moments where you're just in awe. How could that have happened? How could it have the pieces of the fabric of the universe just come into this moment? How does that happen? How do these moments of just things just fall into place? And, as more of an example within the music realm, I made best friends with this girl dancing, and we were best friends for instantly and for weeks. And I ended up telling her about the secret project I was working on in music. She goes, I would love to help you. I said, why? She goes, I go to the Berklee School of Music and I'm a songwriting major. So what?
Wow.
And then everyone in Berklee, my song is so professionally done. I had no idea that was even possible. It is opening yourself up to the dreams, to the wild ride. Like, that is so wild. Being able to, when I think about the story of music, or I think about the story of how, I felt called, if I think about the story of, being asked to go speak at different conferences and being flown out as a keynote speaker, I wouldn't have known how to do it. The how I wouldn't have understood the how. I really would not have. But it's just the determination to say, I'm ready to go on the journey. I don't know how, but I'm open. I am available to the blessings happening. I'm going to walk in so much bravery. I'm going to walk in my boldness. I'm going to say that this is available. Although I do believe that you got to be very careful with who you speak to when you're in the beginning stages of an idea, because people will only speak to you from the limitations they place on themselves. And if someone, has wanted to release a song at one point and hasn't, they're going to tell you, oh, yeah, you probably should. And that's really hard to do. People are only speaking from the limitations of themselves. But when you bravely and boldly are able to make declarations to yourself, the craziest wild ride experiences will begin. It will be as if you're like, all right, I'm going to go on to this roller coaster, and you allow yourself to go on to the roller coaster. This is the wild ride, is allowing yourself to be open up to blessings that catch you off guard and make your jaw drop every single time something like it happens. I want to be able to do this. Next, you get the exact right thing you need. it's wild. That's why it's called a wild ride.
And it truly is. It's amazing how we are basically either a human being or a human doing. And it seems like we really need to, in fact, just follow that Nike adage of just do it. And when you have that opportunity, when opportunity does present itself, you do take advantage of that. Now, Cassidy, how do our listeners log into your website or contact you?
Yeah. So they can DM me either on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, and all of them are the same, Cassidy Amber Chapman. And you can also go on to my website, CassidyAmberChapman.com, and there's a contact form where someone can just send in a little request. And if someone's looking for the book, The Vibrancy Codes, A Guide to Vibrant Health and Vitality, just look up Cassidy Amber Chapman, The Vibrancy Codes, and it'll pop up on Amazon. And if you're looking for the song, Who I Am, Cassidy Amber Chapman, it'll pop up on any streaming platform or YouTube.
That's great. That's great contact information. And you're the #1 new release on Amazon in holistic medicine. That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's tremendous.
Couldn't believe it.
Wow.
That was another part of the wild ride.
Wow. I bet that is absolutely fabulous. So what's next for a guest speaking gig? Where's your next trip scheduled for?
Well, there's many things that are next, but some projects I keep nice and quiet. But I would say just continuing to share this message in every fashion, every form. I'm here to really wake people up to their personal power, to their inner wisdom, to creating a life that's a wild ride, to loving their life and building a life they love. And I will continue to do that in every facet and every form that I possibly can, either through one-on-one or group coaching or my speaking engagements or through my music or through, the books that I'll write. And I'm so deeply grateful for this journey. And I'm open to experiencing what is next.
That is fabulous. Now, I have a lot of associates, a lot of LinkedIn contacts, and off this podcast, we'll have to connect even further with my wealth of resources from the days when I was doing a lot of advancement work in the world of higher ed and even in the world of financial planning. And you have so much inspiration, so much motivation to bring to the table. I really do invite our listeners to go in on your site. Again, that website is
CassidyAmberChapman.com.
I want our listeners to really go in and just find out how to get Cassidy Amber Chapman as the motivational guest speaker at your next conference or your team meeting, and really just having Cassidy in the moment, present. You will just be totally blown away like I was. And Cassidy, I want to thank you so much for being a guest. I have a feeling that you'll be a future guest of Paul Ponders, #Paul Ponders, because you have so much to offer, and we'll have to talk offline about maybe some inspirational types of topics to go over what you're all about. And again, the name of your book is?
The Vibrancy Codes, A Guide to Vibrant Health and Vitality.
And it's available on?
Amazon.
That's fabulous.
And actually on every bookstore website, if they want to get a Barnes & Noble, they can order at Barnes & Noble, but I just find Amazon's easiest.
It really, really is, isn't it, these days? So again, I want to thank you for being just a delightful guest and motivational, truly super, super guest, and great to have you on. And I did read something on your website, and we'll close with this. This is for the ones who hear the whisper and are ready to answer the call. #Indeed. Thank you, Cassidy.
Thank you.
I trust that you have enjoyed #Paul Ponders. Again, my name is Paul Solano of PS&All Marketing Group, and I may be reached via email at paul@paulponders.com to do some more pondering. Many thanks to my longtime collaborative friend and associate, Chalonzo Amos of Pod Pro Entertainment, in bringing you our fun, exciting, informative podcasts. You rock, Techie Chalonzo. With PNS and All Marketing Group, I created a side gig to connect you and get things done. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me at paul@paulponders.com with any questions. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Paul Ponders. Follow us on Twitter at Paul Ponders Pod. Follow us on Instagram at Paul Ponders Podcast. Thank you again for listening to #Paul Ponders, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our website, paulponders.com, or wherever you stream your podcasts. Subscribe, stream, rate, and review our shows. Your ratings and reviews help our show reach new audiences. Produced by PodPro Entertainment. #Paul Ponders lives within a network of podcasts located at podproentertainment.com. #the new radio. Until we meet again, my friend, stay well. #Indeed.